Hi guys and welcome to episode number 30. A beat to the punch. I'm joined on the line with Riku. Hi killer. Riku, how's things?
Good, thanks. Can't wait for Logan Paul KSI.
Well, I
That's
was
what I never said.
I, I was just thinking the exact same thing. I mean, we're going to be very spoiled after having a fight of the year contender for lunch today. You know what I mean? On at 12 o'clock in the afternoon,
Exactly.
and then we've got that was just an appetizer for the big one this weekend.
Yeah, I mean, as I've seen on Sky Sports, Logan Paul reckons that he can be heavyweight champion of the world in 2 years, and KSI reckons they can beat most boxers. So, both of these guys would obviously smash Inoue and Donair into pieces, even though they're much bigger than these guys.
Yeah, but I mean, I've seen the state of the heavyweight division. I'm actually confident he's probably already ranked top 10.
Probably with the WBC at the very least.
But let's get started, Riku, because we've got quite a bit to cover. Because we've not been on the last couple of weeks, we've got some things to talk about. You know what I mean? I'll take the blame for it. It was me that phoned in sick. But we'll get started now. As we just touched on, we had the World Boxing Super Series on at lunchtime, and what a fantastic way to get you ready for the weekend. That was a brilliant show, wasn't it?
I mean, unbelievable. The main event was such a good fight, and we weren't the only people buzzing aside from Carlos, and everybody was buzzing afterwards. It sort of brought back the love that you have for boxing and why we actually love this sport so much.
Oh yeah, absolutely. And it was fantastic. I mean, you know the way I feel about Nanito Donaire, but I didn't think Nanito Donaire had that level of performance left in the tank. And I think that because we've seen Donaire get old, we can kind of underappreciate how good and how skilled this man is. And I think today he rolled back the years. He rolled back the years at times a day. It was at the skill level for both guys. Inoue and Nanito Donaire was a joy to watch. It was a fight I'll go back and watch for years. I loved it. It was that good.
Yeah, I was saying to a mate that who was raving on about Prograis Taylor, where we'll get on to in a bit, but I was saying that this was actually a better fight than that. I can't think of a better fight I've seen all year.
Yeah, yeah. Just for brutality, I liked J Rock and Jarrett Hurd, but
Yeah,
this for watching for having everything. It had the power shots. Both guys get chin checked. We seen the heart. We seen right for round one. It was like we seen both guys just they lay a trap. One falls for it, land the punch, and you seen these guys. And you get asked a lot of questions a day, and fair play to him because he did find the answers. And I think before we went into this, all we really wanted was Inoue to get chin checked. But to see him tested the way Daniel did, it was perfect to watch for it. I mean, Naoya Inoue, I know we've spoke a bit about Nanito Donaire and how good he was, but Naoya Inoue today showed that boy is a complete package.
yeah, he managed to go to the trenches and come out, well, not unscathed, but I mean, Donaire took him to places where you see where the fighters have that extra bit where you can go and become a superstar. And I think he proved today that regardless of the fighter who he's facing against, even if things aren't going his way, he's not going to be intimidated and he'll have a good chin. The only observation I had is that Donaire looked so much bigger in the ring. And obviously Donaire has come down in weight again, but he's around his natural weight, and Inu has moved up in weight. I know there's been chat about having some sort of Lomachenko against Inoue fight at a higher weight, but I think this is the limit of where Inoue can probably fight and remain competitive because I don't think it's fair that we just get these fighters to go up the weight classes in the hope that somebody beats them. But I
Yeah,
think it was an unbelievable performance by both men.
yeah, absolutely. And I mean, I do know what you mean with the size difference in the ring, but there was a couple of times where Daenerys was maybe trying to old man Naoya Inoue a couple of times, just like, get weight on him. And Inoue, the twice that I noticed it anyway, he kind of manhandled Daenerys a bit, so it shows you that he is, like, he's a strong lad. And one of the times he actually picked Daenerys up and put him on the ground, you know.
Yeah, that was towards the end of the fight, wasn't it?
yeah.
Uh, I think, I think in terms of punch power and strength, yeah, Inu is a freak, but just there were. I mean, he was pushed to his limits, but as you said, Donair is such a clever fighter, and I think in the midst of him losing those fights after Rigondeaux and then making his comeback and seeing him lose against Frampton, which was, it wasn't the most competitive fight, but everybody thought Donair was faded, but we sort of forgot what a great fighter he was in his prime. I mean, for me at that one time, he was pound for pound top three fighter when he was taking apart everyone and
Yeah.
going up the weights.
Yeah, and a lot of people have selective memory when talking about Neil Donair. They think that he was just a banger. That left hook, because he did have probably the best left hook in boxing, still one of the best left hooks I've ever seen. Because he had that left hook, people seem to just choose to remember, he got himself out of trouble a couple of times with that. And I think the Neil Donair admits himself, he started looking for big shots and kind of neglecting his skills. But I mean, it shows you the day kind of showed that all that stuff is still there. And I mean, what is he, 36-year-old fighting at bantamweight? I mean, that's unheard of. That's ancient for that weight. And a fighting such a guy like Inoue, who is an absolute killer, nobody really gave Donair a chance getting into this. But what I would like to say was, what did you think about Inoue's performance overall? I mean, there was a point in the middle of the fight where it looked as if he might just be about to go into his shell, and like a champion, he managed to fight through that, didn't he?
Yeah, and I think there's often this misconception that a fighter needs to go 12 rounds full gear. So although I think he was taking a bit of a shellacking in the middle rounds, but he was also conserving energy there. He did the right things to keep himself from being too hurt or taking too much of punishments. And I think he once Donair came back into the fight, I'd say from round 6 onwards, and that was when Inoue had a bad time. But Inoue managed to turn it around, and I think that's really the mark of a true champion. As I said earlier, there's too many guys that you see they entire careers, they take everybody apart. And then when they have the first fight where things aren't going their way for a period of the fight, that's when they can't come back. And I think that was really what we learned about Inoue, that regardless of how a fight is going, he'll always be in the fight.
Yeah, and I mean, I think that we got to see today that, I mean, he isn't. We didn't really have a lot to go on with Inoue because he was blasting everybody out so early in the fights. But the day that we got to see what he actually is as a fighter, we got to see, is he just somebody that can knock you out? If he can't knock you out, can he rely on his boxing skills? Can he rely on his boxing skills to get him through a fight and get him through hard times? I thought the day that we got that, and I think the most surprising thing is that none of us expected it. None of us expected that fight to be so competitive and be boxed at that high a level. That it was an absolute joy to watch. And if anybody's listening and they've not seen it because it was on so early, do yourself a favour and go and watch this fight. You will not be disappointed. It was, honestly, I'm still buzzing enough for it.
Yeah, as I said, it's everything that we love about boxing. And the tournament, World Boxing Super Series, has got quite a bit of criticism recently, and I've been critical about the concept. But one thing he has done, he has produced consistently good finals and good and relatively competitive matchups in the finals. Although we thought this was going to be a one-sided beating, he still got to the final, Donair, and he was going to be up for it because he knew it was a career high payday and he was away from home and everybody had written him off. So I think as a spectacle, it was a great fight. And as well, there was something interesting about it being based in Japan. And I found that quite interesting watching just the crowd. I mean, there's a guy in a suit and a samurai headband in the second row.
Yeah, with an iPad. Yeah, he was actually recording the crowd during the fight. He had this iPad up recording the crowd.
I think that's the great thing about sunrise boxing, when you watch fights in these other countries that you don't often watch boxing in. I mean, Japan's a mad kind of boxing mad country, isn't it?
Yeah,
There's a
yeah, man,
lot
they
of
love their boxing in Japan, and they've kind of got it set up in a way that their clubs that bring them through kind of manage their careers as well. I'm sure it goes something like that. It's actually your club that you box for that make a lot of your decisions and kind of guide you.
But you think I think there was something when the Murata fight was on, Murata against Rob Brant for the world title in Japan earlier this year, and the viewing figures were something in the millions, like
Yes.
tens of millions. And boxing is a big thing in Japan, and we often forget we're Eurocentric view that not all the big fights need to be in the UK or Europe. So it's great to see these Japanese shows, and that's why I kind of quite enjoyed as well, just watching the crowd and everything else.
Yeah, I mean, I've watched a couple of Inoue's fights on YouTube, and it's like they'll show you some of the arenas, and some of the arenas are fantastic. The atmosphere looks brilliant. They put on, because it is Japan, the production of their show as well looks, it all kind of comes together, and it's a bit different from what we're used to. It was a good watch.
Yes, exactly.
Um,
Um,
sorry, I was just going to say, let's speak about where each guy goes now. Is that the perfect way for Nonito Donaire to bow out? Because he might have lost, but yeah, that's again a kind of fight where you don't have a loser. Both guys come out with so much credibility.
I think yes and no. I mean, I think it's probably nice to see him end his career in a win. It's not like he's a shot fighter or he's slurring his words or anything. So maybe he has a big homecoming fight in the Philippines, and maybe that's his way to bow out. I think it's really up to him, but at the highest level, he's probably. I wouldn't think that he would have another run where he'd go after the titles or anything else. Very convinced about that.
I think that there's a good chance Nonito Donaire's overachieved in this tournament for what he actually expected for himself. I mean, against Ryan Burnett, he got a wee bit rubbery green with Burnett getting injured, but it wasn't as if he was being outclassed in that fight. I thought Donaire was in that fight. I was there. That was in Glasgow. I was at that fight, and I always thought, and watching it live, that Donaire was maybe just, he was landing big shots to the body of Burnett, and, a lot of people kind of just looked at he only won that fight because Burnett got injured, but actually, I never thought at any point he was out of that fight. I think only went 4 rounds, but I mean,
Yeah,
the 4 rounds were competitive.
exactly. Yeah, I mean, it really depends what he wants to achieve still. He's sort of achieved everything that he can achieve in the weight classes he's at. He'll become a first ballot Hall of Famer. He's a credit to his country, he's a credit to his community. He's he has a long he's been married for a long time, and he's a family man and just seems like an all-around great guy. So maybe what he doesn't want to do anymore is another training camp away from his family. And the good thing about the World Boxing Super Series is that these guys get paid well. So he would have got paid handsomely even though he lost the fight.
Yeah, yeah, and it's just funny you're saying about his family when I interviewed him in Glasgow. His wife and his kids were all there. His kids were all like, dressed as Iron Man and stuff like that. It was mad. It's like, so you're trying to keep eye contact with a guy who's like one of your heroes in the sport, and you've got all these kids carrying on fighting at the back of you, and I know it was weird. It was funny, challenging. What about the Nito Donaire? Because I was checking this up earlier, and not the Nito Donaire,
You mean
sorry,
it?
Noya Inoue. Where does he go next? Because I was checking this up earlier on, and I noticed that Luz Neri's fighting at the end of the month, and then surely that's going to be one of the best fights out there for Noya Inoue.
Yeah, I mean they've this was already talked about by Chris Mannix and co. that he would end up at sorry, not Chris Mannix, Mike Coppinger, that he'd end up at top rank after this fight. So I think what they'll probably look to do is build him in the US for a bit before they put him into a big fight against someone like Lewis Neri and stuff. Because I think we in the UK follow global boxing more than the American audience does. some of the hardcore American fans will watch Inoue, but he's got the style that he can excite and get people interested, and even headline cards in the US in the next 12 to 18 months, similar to Lomachenko. And he's still a young guy, so I think matching him tough doesn't really bode well for the investment.
Yeah, well, I mean, if we was watching, keeping an eye on how Luis Neri does. He is fighting Manuel Rodriguez. He's fighting Manny Rodriguez. Now, Inoue put on a masterclass that night. So I suppose I know I don't like doing the square route of a fight, but it'll give a good measuring stick of where Neri is. And when he fights Rodriguez, I think it's the end of this month. I'll check just now. Yeah, 23rd November. So I take it that's probably going to be on the. Is that the Ortiz Wilder card? Maybe no.
Yeah, I think so. Yeah, I think so. You're right.
Yeah, it is.
There isn't much boxing.
Yeah.
There isn't much boxing at the moment, is there?
Well, I'll tell you what. That's actually that's a good card to watch. That's a great fight to watch out for as well.
You know what? But PBC, when they have these big cards, they do actually stack them up by putting good matchups and lots of world championship fights there. So, credit to them for stacking these cards up, which are good cards for the hardcores, particularly.
Yeah, and it's actually funny because I've just clicked into Luis Neri's box rec, just as we've been talking about him. In the very top of the page, there's a big banner. It says suspended by Japan Boxing Commission indefinitely. So it's safe to say that if it does happen,
test?
Yeah. I dare say if it does happen, it's got to happen in the US.
Yeah.
Just when we were talking about Inoue, I think that he actually, I'm sure he already worked a little bit with Top.
Yeah, but he's just a great. I mean, Top Rank really good at signing these lower weight class guys. But he's just a great. I mean, Top Rank really good at signing these lower weight class guys. Really good at signing these lower weight class guys. Top Rank have always had an affinity for those guys, and also an affinity for fighters from countries that aren't seen as sort of the meccas of boxing. So they were some of the first ones to sign these Eastern European fighters from Asia. So I think, yeah, he's a perfect match for them, and they've got a track record of building these guys whose first language isn't English and making them stars globally.
Yeah, it's just hard to get people into the midget weights, which is a shame because the skill level and the speed you usually see in these with these small guys is usually far superior to the higher weights. You know, the skill level on show with these smaller guys is unbelievable because of the speed that they operate. You know, when I watched Inoue in the flesh, I couldn't believe how quick that man's brain operates. Like, you know, it's like it was quicker than anything I'd ever seen.
Yeah, I think part of the problem is, well, at those weight classes, the fighters are from Mexico, Japan, Thailand, and the fighters' first languages isn't English, so it's actually quite hard to get a sense of their characters or build up of a narrative around these fights, because these guys are, whilst they're great to watch and they bangers, they aren't necessarily the best at selling themselves because they don't speak the language. So it's challenging from that point of view.
Yeah. Because we were off air last week, we didn't get a chance to speak about the other World Boxing Super Series final, and that was Josh Taylor versus Regis Prograis. Now, you were there. How was it? What was the event like? How did you enjoy it?
Yeah, I was there with Martin Theobald from New Age Boxing, and a few other guys came down. Craig Scott there, and Craig as well from Gloves Red. Lots of people from all around. We had a guy from Northern Ireland there, and so forth. So it's a great sort of event. It wasn't sold out, which was quite interesting. The other interesting thing was that it was produced as a standard Sky show rather than a World Boxing Super Series show.
Yeah, I was going to ask you about that.
So there was nothing to indicate it was a World Boxing Super Series card, apart from the music and then the national anthems. But yeah, if you were a casual fan, you would have thought that Matchroom were promoting Taylor against Prograis. That's how you would have seen it.
Now, I've got to my one criticism of the full fight and the full thing was that I think that the event looked to have lost something. You know, that Super Series production is superior to anything else in boxing, and I thought that card, the Sky card, as you said, it just looked like another fight night. It didn't look like a final in it, you know, it just looked like just another Sky fight, and it kind of lost that prestige of the tournament. If that, I don't know, did you
Yeah.
feel like that?
No, I mean, I agree. It didn't feel like it was tournament boxing. They didn't feel like it was a final. But, Kimoso, the company that owns or funds World Boxing Super Series, if they've run out of money, um, as a lot of people have written about and said, that would probably mean that there's no real reason for Sky to foot the bill to put the lights and everything else, which is a shame because I really like the World Boxing Super Series concept.
Yeah.
And the production when you're there is incredible, as you've been there as well. But yeah, it took a bit away from it. But actually, the fight was so brilliant. So, on the card, you had Chisora taking out Price, which was that's what we expected. And Lawrence Okoli, who hugged for 6 rounds, and then
And
Martin
then,
and I went to the bar to get a drink, and then he ended up knocking out his opponent. But that was awful to watch.
oh, it was really bad that.
Lee Selby against Ricky Burns. That was an intriguing fight, but it never really caught sort of fire from the audience, and it was strange. So you had obviously Scottish fans were quite pro Ricky Burns, but they hadn't yet come in, and many of them were just at the bar at that point. So it was a fight that I think was lost on a card like this. It could have been, in theory, a chief support for Saturday Fight Night, and nobody would have complained. Shannon Courtney, which meant that myself and everybody else apart from 30 fans left the arena at that point because nobody could be bothered to watch that. It was horrific. Then, yeah, the main event was brilliant. What did you make of the main event?
Well, I was lying rolled up on my couch, dying with a fever, so I was finding it hard to enjoy it. But I tell you what, man, I was like, by the end of that fight, I was out the blanket and the hot water bottle was pushed to the side. It was fantastic. Again, early rounds, Regis Prograis' skill and shot selection was fantastic, but the way Josh Taylor just grounded him down and made him work every single second, you know, it was, you could tell Prograis, although he was fighting on, and there was times I thought Prograis was on the edge, like just completely gassing out, and then he was coming back with a big round. I actually think that towards the end of the fight, he got his second win, but it just kind of came a little bit too
Yeah,
late. I
agreed.
think if he'd have came around before that, you were looking at a draw. You know, if
Uh,
I just think that, you know, it just seemed to be, it was Josh that ran out of steam, and the momentum kind of switched just a wee bit too late for Regis Prograis. But I mean, it was brilliant because we seen both guys get chin checked. We seen both guys, you know, come through a bit of, you know, with that cut with Josh Taylor, how he dealt with that cut. You know, it was a big worry for me because it was horrible. You know, it was in a horrible place, but you know, it was brilliant, fantastic fight. What was the atmosphere like in the arena?
it was very good. I think everybody just supported. There were so many Scottish people there supporting Josh Taylor. What's Prograis? There wasn't sort of people didn't not like Prograis because he had done such a good job promoting himself. But I think everybody appreciated what a great fight it was. And at the end, I mean, I scored it 2 rounds to Prograis, but I wouldn't have minded either way. And I don't think either way it was very hard. And after watching the fight back on telly, I can see why Josh Taylor won the fight. But it was just a very close and competitive fight. And it was just great boxing to watch. It was captivating. So all your folks from Scotland were going mad in between rounds. There was a guy in front of us who had a massive Scottish flag. I don't know where he even got it from, but he got it at some point and he just kept on standing up and waving this flag. And we were like, we can't see anything. Please, just please. Uh, then all the Scottish people just trying to find each other and hugging each other when Taylor won the fight.
I don't
Just
even
trying to
let them
find
kid
the
you on. They don't even
closest
fucking
guy
know
with
each
a
other.
Scottish flag.
They just see another Scottish person that's, oh, Jimmy, how's it going? You know, they don't know each other. I do it all the
No,
time when Celtic win. When Celtic win, everybody's my best pal.
it didn't matter, honestly. It didn't matter. As long as you were Scottish, you were in the group.
Yeah. It was great. What about, do you think Josh is going to hang about at 140 and maybe try and get this fight with, is it Ramirez?
I think, he deserves a bit of a gimme fight now just to coming home, homecoming fight. And then see what happens if Ramirez is fighting Postal is in February, December time. Can't remember when he's fighting Postal. But yeah, so Josh Taylor, maybe if he can align himself and try and get something in Q1 next year and then take it from there and try and get that unification fight. But I think the way how Taylor fought, where as a bigger man, he decided to fight on the inside and give away all of his advantages, I actually think it's better for him to stick up 140. 147, if he's those kind of tactics against the likes of, let's say, Spence or anybody else just aren't exactly ideal. So I think it would be great if he could try and reign in that division and unify it and then perhaps move up.
Yeah, I do think that Josh, there is a bit of maturing still to be done because, as you say, a lot of the time he likes to stay inside. He likes to stay inside. He doesn't just get inside and then work his way back out. You know, he likes to stay in range and kind of mix it up. And as you say, like when you start coming up against better guys and bigger guys, that's going to work against you. So I mean, the now is when he should be going. Like, you know what? I shouldn't be doing that. I'll just stick to the outside. But I think a lot of that was because Regis Prograis for the first few rounds was beating Taylor to the jab all the
Yes,
time. You know, he was quicker to the jab, and I think Josh realised if he could actually just get inside and work on him, then he had the confidence in his gas tank. But did Regis Prograis have it in his? And I think that's what switched. I think that's the tactics Josh kind of elected for when he realised that. I mean, Regis Prograis, the way Regis Prograis reads a situation is unbelievable, and you know, it was kind of a couple of times in the first two rounds he walked to Josh right onto the end of his glove, you know, big, lovely, stiff jab, a really good jab. So I think there was a case of Josh Taylor maybe changing his tactics early on when he realised that, you know, if he fights outside, there's a good chance Prograis will beat him.
yeah, and he showed great maturity. I mean, that's what we like to see from fighters. If things aren't working, they're able to adapt. And for me, that's a sign of a great fighter, really. So, um, yeah, exactly. That tactic worked and ultimately got him the win. So, I can't complain and say anything about that. But yeah, Prograis was an excellent fighter. I think both of them will probably stay at 140. And Prograis is a network free agent, so or free agent in general. I mean, he's Lou DiBella managed by his free agent. So if he goes on his own, I'm sure Eddie Hearn will try and build him up as much as possible and put him into good matchups. And because he's somebody that could be a star here, he could go to Top Rank, and they could probably give him Terence Crawford fight tomorrow. So he's got a lot of options. Taylor's probably the same, but I think it makes sense for Taylor to build that fan base here in the UK and Scotland rather than go to the US and try and conquer it for now, because he can do that later in his career where maybe against Ramirez and do a bit like Carl Frampton, follow that blueprint for a career.
Yeah, because Josh has got it's a bit of a handicap up here that he's an East Coast fighter. He's from Edinburgh. Now it's mad because Edinburgh is 50 miles down the road for Glasgow. Maybe not even as far as 50 miles, but we are so different. That 50 miles, it's like we don't even speak the same. So when you've got Josh Taylor fighting, there's no mid-sized arenas in Edinburgh. You know, you've got small hall or you've got 20,000 seater stadiums. There's no in
Yeah.
between. So Josh has to come to the west coast of Scotland, and it's different. Ricky Burns was from over here. Ricky Burns, he was also aligned with a football team over here. He was aligned with Celtic. That it just brings you in more fans. It doesn't really cost you fans if you're a Rangers fan or no. It doesn't. It works either way. But he's over here, so you've got that kind of stuff. It builds for you. He's a local fighter, so Ricky Burns could pull in 8, 9, 10,000 in Glasgow. Whereas when Josh has been coming over here, you're talking about 4.5, 5,000, and he's, as you say, building his brand. I don't know how. If we have an experiment with the next fight and have it in Glasgow and see what he brings in, if it's a good fight, see what he brings in, and it'll give us a better judge. Just what's best for Josh Taylor, because otherwise, I don't know if it's best for Taylor to go on the road.
Yeah, that's the thing. I guess a lot of it depends on TV money as well, and TV money will be partly dependent on how well this pay-per-view did. Because Josh Taylor didn't do much selling pre-fight on this pay-per-view, did it? It seemed like he wasn't particularly interested in doing that.
Yeah,
Which
and I
is
kind of imagine
fine,
that
but
he's pricky a manager. Do fucking know how I feel about Barry McGuigan? He's a fucking rat. But I kind of feel that Barry McGuigan would have had a word in his ear telling him not to do anything.
yeah, probably because the money is guaranteed. And I think ultimately they say that World Boxing Super Series builds stars, but I think it builds stars for the tournament. But what they do after that, it's hard to judge. And part of the reason is the fighters, they don't need to be that engaged in selling anything because it doesn't impact their purses. There's no pay-per-view upsides. There's no anything.
Yeah, I
Maybe,
mean, we even seen it when Josh Taylor fought O'Hara Davis. The purse was guaranteed. O'Hara Davis did fuck all to sell that fight.
yeah,
He couldn't care
yeah.
less. Which is, it's fucking. I suppose if that's the way you want to be, that's it. I don't understand it. Fuck it. Muhammad Ali had a guaranteed purse against Joe Fraser, and it didn't stop him going out and doing all the fucking mad stuff. You know what I mean? To sell the fight. If it's good enough for Ali today, then fucking everybody should still be doing it. You know what I mean? You sell a fight regardless.
Well, I think part of it is well how taxing it is to you personally. Like some fighters doing the media stuff and doing all that stuff is actually mentally more taxing than anything else. So if you can get an advantage, if somebody's, I mean, think about it this way: if Prograis wouldn't have done all the media stuff and all the stuff, not to say this is guaranteed, would have that given him that extra 2% edge or not?
Yeah, we don't know, but what I do know is that Regis Prograis is now a star in Britain.
He is.
He's bigger here than what he is in the US, and Regis Prograis going out and doing that donkey work is only going to benefit Regis Prograis.
Yeah, I mean, he understands the game and sees the long term. That's a good thing, isn't it?
Well, do you know, if I was Lewis Ritson, I would be kind of try to hide out the way now, because I have a feeling that Eddie Hearn's going to try and strike a deal with Prograis. And I think before even going for a Josh Taylor rematch, he'll try and feed Lewis Ritson to Regis Prograis, and
Probably. But
and
how
try and
do
get that as a big event, maybe in London, or
Newcastle?
do you know what Lewis Ritson is right now? He's like, see when the coyote sees the roadrunner and he's just like a bit of chicken, just this succulent meat just sitting there. That's what Lewis Ritson pretty much is.
Yeah, but how do you go from losing to Patera European level at 135, beating Robbie Davis Jr. in a life and death fight? You go supposedly you're meant to be going to fight for world title. That's something I don't understand. The way how it's been talked about, the Britson has some sort of right to face, or Taylor
Yeah,
should be facing. This guy,
who knew Robbie
I mean,
Davis Jr. was so good?
yeah, and he's yet to prove that he's any better than European level.
Yeah, no, the lad will sell tickets and that, but I've just got a feeling that Eddie might think that if he can cash in on him, he's going to cash in on him. Uh,
Yeah,
but
he does probably.
but we have one more World Boxing Super Series final to go, and that's at cruiserweight. And then that might be the last we see ever at the World Boxing Super Series. Now, over these past 2 seasons here, how do you rate it? What would you give it as a rating out of 10?
I think you probably have to rate each of the seasons, each of the weight categories differently. So last time we had cruiserweights and super middleweights. I think cruiserweight was sort of an A. Super middleweight was a B or C. I'd say B. The reason was there was a lot of UK intrigue, but we all know that George Groves was not fit in that fight. Obviously, I'm a Groves fanboy. This season, I think he hasn't been great because of all the delays, everything that's gone behind the scenes. But actually, then again, he has delivered great fights, particularly in the finals. So I'd say this season is a C, C plus, C plus.
C plus, even across if you're ranking the both fight if you're ranking the finals individually, well ranking
No, the finals have been out. The finals have maybe been
all
the
the weight
ones that have
classes individually.
saved. I mean, the finals, we've got two, we've got an A minus and an A plus fight in the finals. So they
Yeah,
have probably saved the whole tournament, I would say.
and I take it that in Finland, when somebody says get a ranking out of 10 and use date with alphabet, that's a thing.
No, oh yeah, well, I thought I'd be appealing to you guys because our school rankings are from 4 to 10. We don't even do from 1 to 10. So I was trying to do you guys a favour. So you should be thanking me.
Yeah, I mean, I was just going to rank the seasons overall, the concept overall, sorry, and I would give it a 7. 7 leaning towards an 8. I think the second season's lost a bit of momentum, and where the momentum it's lost a wee bit of the sparkle because it wasn't as quick as what we thought, and there was arguments about money. But when you actually think about the fights that have been put on and the fights that I've attended, and I've got to see Inoue in the flesh, got to see Josh Taylor against Baranchik was another great fight. In the last season, I was in Germany for Usyk and Hook, and I was in Latvia for Bradis and Usyk. Another great fight. I mean, that was an unbelievable fight. When I think of these brilliant fights I've got to see and the full concept of the production, I mean, I love it. I know I was kind of falling out of love with it because this season was dragging on, but because we had Taylor just the other week, and then we had Inoue today, I'm back in love with it. I love it. I think it's phenomenal, and I would love it for somebody big to get behind it and really not let this concept die. But I just don't see it, especially after it tying up these guys for so long this time round. That's really going to be what kills it. I think. What do you think about
Yeah, I agree. I think if somebody else, not to say the organizer are bad, but if somebody came along, they could just look at this concept and say, actually, the concept is great, but there's a lot of stuff that we've learned in terms of scheduling, contracts, everything else. They could probably make it a lot better. But then again, so much money is wasted in boxing on, you know, the crap shows that we get on TV, the money that the Zone and ESPN are trying really shows that nobody in boxing cares about. So I'd love to see some of that money going towards, something like rescuing this concept.
it? Yeah, absolutely. But I mean, we have talked a lot of this World Boxing Super Series stuff to death just now because I mean that's us going on to 40 minutes. We've been on here. So let's talk about the weekend's action there, and it was Canelo Alvarez becoming a 3 or a 4 weight world champion, depending on who you listen to. But Canelo versus Sergey Kovalev. But what did you make of this fight? Because it was a weird one.
Yeah, I think everybody thought that what would happen is Canelo would just walk Kovalev down and go to the body, and that would be the end of it. Actually, Kovalev boxed quite well, but then he felt like mentally he was there to cash out. It did feel that way that he was there to cash out, but he made Canelo work, and Canelo, I think, fought an intelligent fight. I think as a fight, it won't be in Canelo's all-time his best fights, but that's a highlight reel knockout. He was probably losing on the judges' score. Well, not the judges, but anybody that was watching it scorecard. So yeah, I'd say it was he proved that he's an elite fighter against a guy that's a good level light heavyweight. What did you make of it?
Yeah, well, I mean, but I read a lot of the comments before I'd actually watched the fight, and then once I watched the fight, I didn't actually agree with what a lot of what I was reading for people. I thought the first 6 rounds. No, when I watched on Twitter, apparently, Kovalev was just totally outworking Canelo, and that's how the first 6 rounds he was beating him. Knowing the fight I watched, Kovalev was doing the pity patty punches, nothing on them. He wasn't even backing Canelo up, and everything was coming off of Canelo's gloves. Now, Canelo was taking 6 of them on the gloves and landing one big shot. And, I was listening to Michael for Beyond the Ropes. Shout out to the guys.
Yes.
I was listening to Michael for Beyond the Ropes, and I mean, he said it just wasn't his kind of fight. It was terrible to watch. Now, I can totally understand that. I mean, I'm a massive Andre Ward fan, so that kind of level of operation, watching how he disguises shots, watching the traps he's laying, I could watch that shit all day. I was loving it.
Same. Same.
No, I had it 4-2 at Canelo at 6 rounds, after 6 rounds, right? But I noticed in round 7 that Sergey Kovalev started putting something on his jabs. He started sitting on his punches a bit, and he was getting a hell of a lot of success. And I thought rounds 7, 8, 9 were probably all Sergey Kovalev's. I thought he would, up until he get knocked out. No, I do think that the fact that he was sitting on his punches a bit more accelerated, emptying maybe his gas tank and slowed him down a bit more. But I think the 3 rounds were probably his best of the fight. And the fight kind of looked as if it was maybe getting away from Canelo. And then obviously when it came to the stoppage, Canelo just, the way he set him up, the accuracy, the punches, the way he disguised them, and I mean the fact that some people were questioning whether Kovalev took a dive or no, was that he's really just took 3 punches there, and one of them was like a David Price shot against Povetkin. He wasn't protecting himself, and Canelo landed one right in his chin. To say that, because this guy wasn't losing the fight. He might have been losing it on the judges' cards, but he wasn't losing it by much. And to me, I thought that it was either level or Kovalev could have been up. I'd probably, maybe, I think when I scored it the other day, I had it level. Getting into was it the 11th he stopped him? Yeah,
Yes.
I think I had it level, getting into the 11th. But
Yeah, I think I'd Kovalev up. I don't know. It feels like the people that don't like Canelo, anyways. I mean, I don't like, obviously that he's being called for peds, but I like him as a fighter. I like to watch him. But those people that don't like Canelo, they effectively have been just picking holes in this performance and downplaying Kovalev, how washed up Kovalev was as a fighter when he's facing Canelo. And I think it was a decent performance from Kovalev. And actually, for Canelo to be able to take out a guy like that is very impressive, because he couldn't take out the likes of Jacobs. He couldn't take out the likes of, you know, Golovkin, obviously. The only guy who's recently taken out is Rocky Fielding, right? He hasn't stopped many elite middleweight. So being able to perform like that against, I'd say, one of the top light heavyweights is something that Bivol can't. Bivol can't take out guys that are sort of contender level light heavyweights. So coming up 2 weight classes, stop a guy, I think it's very impressive.
no, again, I was listening to the boys at Beyond the Ropes, and they get a good bit of banter with Michael and that. He's a lovely big boy. But I was listening to the boys talking, and they brought into question, was Kovalev ever that good? Now, for me, I think Kovalev's boxing skills have been massively underrated. Everybody had Kovalev doing as a
Yeah,
crusher. He was if he was just a banger. But I mean, if you go and watch him against B Hop, he fucking absolutely it's a masterclass in boxing, and if you watch the first Andre Ward fight, he outboxes Andre Ward for big spells of that fight, and nobody outboxes Andre Ward. Do you know what I mean? He was
Yes.
unlucky not to get the win in that fight. But so I think it's easy now to look back and say, okay, but was Kovalev ever that good? I don't. For me personally, I think that Kovalev's skills have actually been underrated, no overrated. What's your view on Kovalev overall? Has he been more hyped up than he's probably deserved?
I mean, this is a guy that has had over 300 amateur fights at a high level in Russia. So, that for one indicates that he has good boxing pedigree. Um, and, he beat B Hop, great boxer. The second fight against Alvarez, who's still one of the top light heavyweights. I'm talking about
Yeah, I actually
E.
forgot about
Alvarez.
that fight.
That was a great boxing performance late in his career. So he just hasn't. I don't think he's had to box a lot of his career because he can rely on his power. But what we've seen from him, boxing, he's been very good, and I think it's just true to say that somebody is not a good boxer if they lose later on in their career to a smaller man. But his most impressive wins are probably boxing related.
Canelo, I mean, he took away Kovalev's right hand very early in the fight. Because anytime he threw it, right away, like instantly, it was like a trigger point. As soon as he saw that right hand coming, the counter left hook for Canelo all the time, and he couldn't miss. Um, when you watch Canelo doing stuff like this, do you think that boxing fans appreciate it as much? Because I don't. I can understand why people don't like him because of the drug scandals. I can understand why people think that maybe he cherry picks. But I mean, if we're going to talk about cherry picking, I mean, Canelo's last four fights have been two against Triple G, Rocky Fielding, and Danny Jacobs, and then he's just fought Sergey Kovalev. I mean, come on to fuck. I mean, if you're not going to give that guy credit
Yeah,
now, I think you need to have a word with
exactly.
yourself. Do you think that he gets enough credit for the kind of fighter he is? Do you think that his style?
No,
Yeah, because
I don't think it's even his style. I think there's this weird kind of thing in boxing Twitter, I'd say, when once somebody isn't the hipster's choice of fighter and they become good enough, then everybody turns on them. Until somebody that you can only watch grainy footage in fighting in a small hall in Mexico or Japan, and they've got great record. That's when people like these fighters. But once they become mainstream stars and everybody just turns on them. And that's what has definitely happened with Canelo. Because I think before the Triple G fight, when everybody wanted him to be beat by Triple G, before that, there wasn't the same hatred towards Canelo. Now the big thing is, oh, he needs to fight against, you might have seen me on Twitter debating with people, he needs to fight against Callum Smith. It's like, why does anybody need to fight against Callum Smith? The
yeah,
guy doesn't fight anybody. I
yeah. I
mean,
mean,
come on.
I put a
If
tweet
you're
out.
talking about cherry pickers, you're talking about Callum Smith.
I mean, I put a tweet out the other day, saying about the people are talking about Callum Smith. And, I don't understand when Callum Smith got all these fans, but people are now talking about Callum Smith as if it's like, when Jim Jeffries come back to fight Jack Johnson, as if like the great white hope is coming back to
Yeah,
put this guy
exactly.
in, to put this black guy in his place. And, we all know how that one finished. Jack Johnson went in and battered his cunt in. I've got
Exactly.
this thing with Callum Smith. I like Callum Smith when I watch him fight. I think the guy's impressive. There's a lot to like about him. But let's be fucking honest here. Scotland fucking had Callum Smith in deep water a few times in the World Boxing Super Series. Callum Smith then went on and he put in a great performance against George Groves, but none of us really know
Yeah, but in
what that
between it
version
was
of George
against
Groves.
Nicky Holzker.
But we don't really know what George Groves had left in the tank. He was struggling with his shoulder. We all know that George Groves struggled to make weight anyway. So, I mean, since that fight, Callum Smith has did nothing. He's lost all that momentum again. And people are still talking about him as if he's this elite fighter. And we'll put it this way. What, why would Canelo go fight Callum Smith when nobody really knows who Callum Smith is?
Exactly. I was thinking to myself, he has probably been once fought on US TV, and that would have been on the undercard of Joshua against Ruiz one Indian down fight. Aside from that, I don't think there has been any other way for US fight fans to come across him.
I mean, even in Callum Smith's next fight, I mean, these people that are criticising Canelo, right? These people that are criticising Canelo saying, he's fucking he's cherry picking an old man instead of Kovalev or, all this shit. Well, Callum Smith's next fight's against John Ryder. John Ryder is one of the guys who are unlucky. His natural size is he's a between weight kind of guy. He's too big for middleweight and he's too small for super middleweight. He's one of these guys, maybe like Isaac Chamberlain, but maybe, I don't know, you'd know better than me with that, but just one of these guys that doesn't seem to have a perfect weight. Do you know what I mean? Callum Smith is a fucking monster at super middleweight and he's getting in there to fight John Ryder. Now, how the fuck is this guy getting passes for the same people that are criticising Canelo?
Yeah, and Callum Smith is 29 years old. He's not a prospect anymore. His best 3 wins are probably Rocky Fielding, Skoglund, and George Groves. So, I mean, he needs to step it up to even be deserved to be somebody that's mentioned that they should be facing Canelo, because Canelo's the cash cow, right? I think Teddy Atlas said this on his podcast. If you want to fight against the cash cow, go out and fight against the other guys that want to fight against the cash cow and make a statement. That's the only way it's going to happen.
I made that very same point the other day. Go and chase a fight. Chase a fight down. Don't just sit back and say, I think he says, I'll wait for Canelo to come and get me. Yeah, that's what this superstar of world boxing is going to do. He's going to come and chase you down, Callum Smith, who he probably doesn't even know,
Exactly. He won't have a clue who Callum Smith is.
Yeah, and I've been finding it funny that a lot of these people that seem to think that, I've seen this, Callum Smith and Canelo at Anfield, it could be massive. And I don't think these people seem to understand, right, that I don't think, never mind that all the stupidity of trying to get Canelo to come to the UK when he doesn't even speak English. But never mind getting Canelo to come to the UK, but see when AJ fought Klitschko and they sold 90,000 tickets and the place was packed out, it's celebrities, fucking high price fucking ringside tickets, that only finishes about 9th. No, in fact, I think it's actually lower down. It's like about 13th if you compare it with what Vegas takes on the gates. I think that fight took like the equivalent of, I think it was $12 million when I converted it last time. But I checked this up before. Canelo Triple G1 took like $22 million on the gate in an arena that holds 20,000. Do you know what I mean? Yeah, we cannot compete with these people. The American Vegas is a mecca of boxing for a reason, and you're not going to get a god to leave his mecca, are you?
No, and also, DAZN has paid they pay roughly $35 million guaranteed to fight for Canelo. They're not going to put him on UK time for one, and two. There's such things as site fees in the US that many people don't understand. These venues and casinos will pay the promoter, tens of millions to get the fight in their venue because they know, in addition to selling those tickets that you mentioned, they'll have high rollers spending lots of money in the casino. And that's how the model operates. So stadium fights might have big numbers, but actually in terms of revenue, they aren't as profitable. No one really cares about these fights in the UK, if I'm being honest. No one frankly cares about having these fights in. It's all Canelo dream to be fighting at Wembley or Canelo dream to be fighting at wherever, is it? I mean, he wants to do is fight against the best at decent venues. He fought at the Dallas Cowboys Stadium against
Smith.
Liam Smith, what didn't he? He fought against him, and that did quite good numbers and stuff, but exactly.
Yeah, and I think, even if you think about it as a boxing fan, imagine getting off the plane in John Lennon International Airport or getting off the plane in Las Vegas, Nevada, you know, with the spotlights and the casinos on the horizon, where the fuck would you want to go and watch a fight? You know what I mean?
I know the answer to that question.
uh, well, where would you like to see Canelo go next?
um, that's a good question. I don't think he needs to be fighting at light heavyweight. There isn't really anything to for him to conquer there anymore. Super middleweight. Again, there's not actually a fight at super middleweight that I'd be interested in seeing him fight. Like none of the names particularly interest me. I'd say probably go back to if I could pick any fight, I'd love to see him fight against can't remember which Charlo is, but the middleweight Charlo,
Mm-hmm.
if he could be enticed to fight a middleweight against Canelo, I think that would be a very interesting fight.
Yeah, I like that fight. I've always liked that fight, but my love with the Charlos has kind of died down a bit. I think a lot of I fell for a lot of the hype. I'm kind of
Same.
slowing down with my love for them, but I mean, still great fighters. But I mean, I'm starting to question whether they're as good as what I originally thought. Um, I don't know if Canelo's going to go back down to 160. I don't know if he can be bothered with trying to get that muscle back off his body because, I mean, it's alright putting that on that frame, but then try to get that kind of muscle back off because at light heavyweight, Canelo looked fantastic in there. He wore that
Yeah.
extra weight really well. I think that they might if the Triple G fight's going to happen, I think we might see it at super middle, or I think that we might see they might try and catch Bivol at a catch weight. I
Yeah, but
think that they
nobody
might.
knows people. That's the problem. He's one of these names that Eddie Hearn floats around, but if you think about the types of fighters Canelo needs to fight, it's either somebody that brings something to the table, whether it's a title like Liam Smith or Rocky Fielding, or then it's a name that the US guys know. I think what he wanted to do initially was unify all the titles at middleweight, but because of the whole Golden Boy cock up with the Derevchenko purses, now he's not bothered about doing that. So I think what he wants is fun fights. And someone like Bivol, beating Bivol at super middleweight just does nothing for his career.
Yeah, I would just love to see somebody fucking put that fire out. I think the Bivol, he's a skilled fighter. You can't deny that, but I think that he's another one. He's probably overrated.
I agree. He's too small for, I mean, like heavyweights. It would be sad to see him face Beterbiev or even Vosdik, to be honest. It would be just
Yeah,
sad to see him face those guys.
I think that Beterbiev would be fucking. He'd be looking to kill him, man. Also, you know, I've seen people saying that if Canelo wants to be number one, he has to go and beat Beterbiev. Where do you
But
stand on that? Because Beterbiev is a fucking whole different animal for Sergey Kovalev.
yeah, I think I was listening to Terry's podcast, Highfields Boxing, which is worth a listen. And he was talking about this. He said Beterbiev fought a heavyweight as an amateur. You know, Canelo's just a lot smaller as a man. And it comes back to the point where if you want to see somebody lose, you just say they need to go up and up the weights. And Beterbiev's is a completely different challenge to Kovalev. So, I mean, that's no fight that does anything to Canelo. And also, the only way to want that fight is if you want to see Canelo lose a fight.
Yeah, yeah, I absolutely, I think the exact same, Riku. I think that his future should be at 160. If he can get back down to 160, he should go there and then move on to super middleweight later on. Um, but you know what? I quite like the fact that he's jumping up and down the weights. Just how much do you think Canelo has learnt from Floyd Mayweather? Not just inside the ring, but outside of the ring.
Um, for me, it's hard to say because I don't speak Spanish. So I don't actually know how commercially savvy he is. He's obviously a good fighter. He's a good looking kid. He's a star in Mexico. and the Spanish-speaking markets or South America. He lives a lifestyle of a superstar, but I can't tell you whether his personality is the one, at least, that drives the pay-per-view sales because I don't speak Spanish. But one thing he has probably learned from Mayweather is that he's a consummate professional, and even when he's not, even when he's not in camp for fight, he's taking relatively good care of himself. So it would have been very easy for him to be caught a bit off guard for this fight because he was meant to fight against Derevchenko. They were looking to do it. When was it? Mexican Independence Day the other weekend. Obviously, they couldn't do it then, so he could have got his sort of, no pun intended, trading cycle wrong. And what that would have meant is that he might have not been in good shape, but he turned up and he was in great shape. He'd made the weight well, so I think he's just a great professional, and that's something which he's probably learned from Mayweather. What do you think?
I think in the ring, I think that we're starting to see Mayweather-esque counter punches. Quite a lot. A matter of fact, if we actually watch some of the counter punches he catches Kovalev, you could probably go back and see Mayweather catching him with the same shots when Canelo and Mayweather fought. What I also think though is Canelo knows his worth the way Floyd Mayweather does, and when he can gain an advantage, he will gain an advantage, and that's what superstars do. It's always happened in boxing that you wouldn't think it the way that people go on about Canelo now, but just having the £10 rehydration clause, maybe
Yeah,
just having guys demanding certain kinds of drug testing, kind of making people dance to his tune. And he had the date with Mayweather, and I think that he's learnt a lot. He's learnt a lot about his matchmaking. I think that he knows that timing is everything, and Floyd was a master at catching guys at the right time. And I think
agreed.
Canelo is another one who's mastered the art of catching guys at the right time. I think that when you add this all in, I think that he's became very Floyd-esque. But just on something that you touched on, we also seen that DAZN made him wait until the UFC
Oh
finished.
God.
Right, which is humiliating for the biggest star in boxing to be made to wait for a couple of guys in the UFC. Now, do you think that this DAZN deal is maybe hurting brand Canelo?
No, because of the money he's getting. But I think he hurt DAZN a lot as a brand. So we had Joe Markovich go on IFL, was it last week, talking about this issue and saying that actually demographics are quite different for boxing and UFC. We have, we'll be confident in running our main event with the biggest star in boxing. And actually, a lot of people will just watch it back later, one or the other, or what they will do is they'll just have two screens to watch it because we're not a pay per view service, so people subscribe. So then they end up completely backtracking on this whole thing on the night without informing anybody. And clearly, it was a decision that wasn't planned. So the scheduling didn't work. So they were having these long breaks in between the card. And then you're having the supposedly the biggest star in boxing sitting on a sofa waiting for him to come on because there's a UFC fight. It's I just feel very sorry for Canelo, and it's embarrassing for Canelo and DAZN, and it's a bad indictment on the whole of boxing, I believe.
Well, I think that, I mean, put it this way, would HBO have done that?
No,
No, they wouldn't have, because
hell
HBO would
no.
have. I think the HBO would have had the pay per views bought and they'd have had their customers in. I think that the zone are maybe struggling that much that they can't afford to take away any business, any potential subscribers, anybody that could maybe come on. Maybe advertisers that were advertising during the fight requested that, do you know what, if we're going to pay for a prime time slot, we don't want it, we don't want that competition. I don't know if maybe the zone are just in that weaker position where, they've kind of got to look under the table for the spare change. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah, I mean the other thing with DAZN is that obviously I didn't watch Underzone, but the US or a lot of people in the US were saying that the stream wasn't working and there was issues with how it worked, the setup and everything else. And I just think DAZN they massively cocked up something that should have been relatively simple, and they could have made a statement because they don't release their numbers. They should have just run it anyways. I mean, it really wouldn't have made a difference, would it?
No,
Um,
no, and I think that's what makes it. It smells a bit of desperation. But what I was saying, I mean, for me, I think it damages Brand Canelo. People now think the biggest star in combat boxing has to wait. Well, he did have to wait, and he has to wait for the UFC. You know, if anything, Canelo shouldn't be waiting on anybody. You know, if as
no,
I said, if it was HBO, I know that HBO Canelo's with the zone and he doesn't need to do any of the promo work, and I know that that is a big thing for Canelo, that he doesn't like doing or selling the fights. But if that's on HBO and Canelo's face is everywhere and it's advertised in NFL games and all this shit, you know, if Canelo's away for that DAZN paywall and he's actually away in a pay per view, I think that Canelo's brand doesn't get damaged for that, because I'll be honest, that's quite embarrassing what DAZN made him do.
I agree 100%. It's beyond embarrassing. And also, it wasn't like Conor McGregor was fighting. I'm not a UFC fan, but it wasn't like Conor McGregor was fighting, right? This was the equivalent of the Conor McGregor of boxing fighting, and they having to wait for high profile UFC fighters, but not necessarily UFC fighters that are, I would say, on the highest echelons of the sport.
Yeah, and do you know, I actually heard a story, I don't know if it's true, but they actually put the UFC on in the arena.
Yeah,
I'm not 100% sure how much truth there is in that story, but I definitely heard that.
that's crazy, isn't it?
Yeah, yeah. We are getting pushed for a bit for time because as I said, we've got quite good things to talk about tonight. But let's talk about the shittiest thing at last weekend. Crolla's testimonial. Now, when did this become a thing? When did this become a thing that where you get a fight for your retirement? It's just fucking stupid if you ask me. This.
I agree. I mean, it's not boxing isn't playing games, is it? But it became a thing when they couldn't fill up the what do you call it? The Saturday fight nights when since Matchroom have started scrabbling for Saturday fight nights, that's when it became a thing.
But I mean, we also seen this selling the fight as Anthony Crolla's swan song. I mean, have you ever heard anything so stupid in your life?
No, I think Michael Buffer said it all when he said, "I've never previously done an event where I know the guy's going to retire after this fight." It's not very an enticing proposition to have a fighter because he can't, or this is a main event because he can't build to what happens after this. And also the fact that they had a belt, some WBC belt on the line for that fight, that just shows you how how shit the whole organization of WBC is, right?
Yeah,
Having a WBC belt on the line for a fight that doesn't mean anything.
yeah,
What is the point of that?
yeah. It was a
Why would they
glorified.
sanction that?
It's a glorified exhibition fight. Do you know what they should have done? I mean, if they couldn't get Terry Flanagan, what they should have done is found the guy that broke into Crolla's house, tied him up, and then let Crolla knock fuck out him for 10 rounds. I mean, everybody would have watched that. Everybody would have sat and goes, "This is fucking brilliant justice getting dished out." You know, but fucking. And do you know what made it worse? Is the fact that Crolla probably lost that fight. I mean, and he didn't win any of the first 4 rounds, put it that way. He was being
Yeah,
clearly outboxed, and then the scorecards come in, and fuck me, they were bad. They were bad. Crolla gets the win, and then we have Matthew Macklin sit there and tell us that, I mean, it doesn't matter because it's his last fight, and you want to see Crolla get the win, totally disregarding this professional fighter who's come over for Spain and who's just been denied Anthony Crolla's name off his CV.
Yeah, exactly. And he has to now go on the road and take a lot more punches just to get back to level of facing the next
Well, if a
caller.
WBC belt's on the line there should be a WBC ranking on the line. You know,
Right, exactly.
it's fucking. And when you think about it that way, I mean, you're taking. It's a saying that the guys used to say to me offshore. He's like, you're putting somebody on toast and beans. You're putting somebody on toast and beans if you do that. You know what I mean? It's like you're taking the
Yeah.
ham away. Fucking, but I don't really want to waste that much time because it was a fucking shit card. It was a shit fight, and it was a shit ending to it. But Katie Taylor fought. I didn't watch it. I'm not a big fan of women's boxing, but she became a 2-weight world champion. I understand. Did you see that fight?
No, I mean, Katie Taylor fights just don't interest me, if I'm being honest. Just doesn't interest me at all. And I think that's where the problem in women's boxing lies because Costello and Bonds can tell us as much as possible that we should be interested in this, and everybody can try and force us to be interested in women's boxing. But when you're having, 2-minute rounds, the silly big clubs, opponents that we've never heard of, even if she becomes a world champion in six weights, it means nothing to me because I don't know who she's fighting. So no, I didn't watch it. I'm not interested particularly in her career.
Do you know they could have had me as a fan? If I watched probably the only women's fight I have enjoyed watching was Persoon against Taylor, and I thought Persoon beat Taylor. Now, why
Yeah,
am I sitting about a year later and they two haven't fought again? And I actually heard somebody in another podcast, I think it was Andy Patterson, was saying that Persoon's actually now fighting at a different weight. She signed with Matchroom and she's going to get a title at a different weight. Why the fuck
uh,
are these two no fighting each other? It was a superb fight.
well, that's it, isn't it? Ultimately, if they were to show that fight, or if that fight was to happen again, I'd probably watch it because that fight has a reason for me to be interested in it, and it has a good narrative around it and everything else. But most of these other fights, just because somebody's fighting for a world title, isn't enough to get me interested in watching them fight, if that makes sense.
Yeah, yeah, absolutely. I don't really want to waste any more time on that card because we probably spent more time talking about it than the guys that put that card together spent thinking about putting that together. You know what I mean? It's just like, oh, boom, 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 here we
Mm.
go. Just fucking put them together and the assholes will watch it. That's what it felt like. But while we've been after here, Devin Haney has won his world title through Gmail. Um, this is another fucking strange thing. Why not just put the title on the line in his next fight? Uh, can
Yeah,
you
what
understand
happened to
this?
having vacant titles? You don't always have to be a title holder, do you?
Yeah, I know. It's nuts.
But my question is, can anybody find a worse guy that has a worse sort of record of opposition than Devon Haney that has got to a world title? Because the guys he has faced have been, good fights for young fighters like him to build up. But, his best win is Zaur Abdullayev or whatever he's called. And after that fight, he gets awarded a world title. I'm just thinking, how? How's that possible?
Yeah, it's
This is the same weight that has Lomachenko, Comey, Teofimo Lopez, Luke Campbell, all these other guys. It's not. It's a weight class that has some good fighters.
it really did annoy me as well because Devin Haney fights for Matchroom, didn't he? Is that right?
He does, yes.
Yeah, I mean, so you've got to imagine. I mean, that WBC title did that come off Lomachenko? Is that right? Did he got upgraded to franchise champ? Is that right?
Yeah, some
Yeah,
shit like that.
yeah. Just make sure I had that right because I thought the franchise champion was just exclusively for Canelo. I didn't realise they were going to implement this across the board. I thought it was just to keep Canelo representing WBC because he was moving up and down. I didn't realise they were just going to give him to everybody now. But But you've got to think that even Top Rank can't be happy with this because, I mean, that's a WBC belt is left Top Rank and went to Matchroom when they've actually got Teofimo Lopez fighting Comey in a few weeks.
Yeah,
You know what I mean?
but
That doesn't
also,
seem very fair.
oh, but what's the WBC have gone madder than usual. I would say mad, but they've gone even madder than usual. So you have the franchise champ, you have a diamond belt, and then you have the actual championship. So in theory, they could have three champions, right?
Mm-hmm.
It's crazy, isn't it?
Yeah, yeah.
And we can't think about this is the kind of stuff that really kills boxing is because nobody can be serious and say Devin Haney's a serious world champion because it isn't.
Yeah, I mean, it's a shame for Devin Haney because, you know, if somebody's going to give you a world title through an email, you're going to fucking take a world title through an email. You know what I mean? But it kind of makes him a bit of a joke, undeservedly. You know what I mean? And it devalues what used to be the most prestigious belt out of all the alphabet belts. And the WBC
Exactly.
has had a fucking very, very poor 2019 to the point where, you know, fucking, I mean, even the WBO, and that is now looking a bit more sensible than them. Even the WBA, who are another one that's bad for dishing out belts willy-nilly, even they've probably had a better 2019 than what the
Yeah.
WBC has. And I mean,
It's
just
become
to,
a land grab, hasn't it? All these belts have become which governing body can have which champion sort of attracted to them. That's what it's become all about, rather than actually let's try and make the simple so that people understand how boxing works. It's become if I can find this cash cow and give them a weird belt, and then that will mean that they'll be loyal to me and keep paying my sanctioning fees.
yeah. And I mean, just to top this off, I mean, the WBC, I think it was last year, the year before, got a lot of credit for boxing fans for their stance and bringing in, you know, VADA
Clean
testing,
boxing,
clean
yeah,
boxing program, and you know, you go like, finally, somebody seems to be starting to take steps in boxing, and then they just make a joke of themselves, the WBC, because this week we find out that Ray Vargas and Julio Cesar Martinez have failed for clenbuterol. Now, both have already been told after the WBC they have the presumption of innocence. You know, they didn't mean to take it. It's been contaminated meat. I,
yeah.
I don't, I know that because I've made a stance with Canelo now, they kind of need to stick with that. It wouldn't be fair. But so what are we really saying now that anybody in Mexican sport can test positive for clen and they don't need to worry about it? What is the sanctions? Is it a one off? Do you get strikes? What are we saying here? You know, I don't understand the message that they're sending out. They've either got to be zero tolerance. You know, even Canelo, I know he didn't get banned with the WBC, but he was banned with the Nevada Commission. So he still had
Yes.
to do a 6 month ban. These guys are just going to walk straight back in the fucking ring. You know, it just seems they're zero tolerance
Well,
or they're strong on drugs when it suits them. When
uh,
it's
yeah, I think it's an interesting one because, to my understanding, actually, what they do in football in China, they just basically, if you get caught for clenbuterol, they just gloss over it because they say, well, they say at least you from these countries, so you can't regulate where the meat comes from. So we'll just gloss over if you get caught with these and these things. So I think it's more of an issue that there needs to be clarity in boxing about all of this stuff, and also there needs to be rules that okay, if you're from Mexico and you find traces of clenbuterol, then we'll look into it more. Maybe you get a strike, or maybe you don't get a strike. But aside from that, what we'll do is, if not, then we'll give you a ban. But it's not black and white. But to me, it's no surprise that these guys are getting caught for clenbuterol from Mexico.
well, do you know, I'm going to start my own training program. I'm going to be like the Dr. Ferrari of fucking, taking guys away for the camp.
Yeah,
And I'm going to take them to Cancun. And all we're going to do is run on the beach and eat McDonald's. And then I'll get them Clenbuterol. I'll just get them it. And then when we come back, we'll just say, oh no, but we were in Mexico and we were eating beef. And, you know what I mean? So anybody that goes to Mexico, eats a beef, they've got deniability. This is how, because when do you think the first case, because as soon as somebody's going to be taking Clenbuterol to cut down the weight, because it cuts your weight and keeps your muscle mass, if you want to understand.
yes.
So if you're going to be on Clenbuterol, you're going to go to Mexico to do that cycle of Clenbuterol. You're going to spend a bit of time in Mexico, and then you're going to leave Mexico. And if you test positive, then you're going to just say, "But I was in Mexico," and that's the kind of that's a can of worms that they're opening here.
Well, if you're going to cheat that way, I'm sure there's better ways to cheat than getting Clenbuterol. To me, when people get caught with any kind of substances, the first question I always ask is, what else were they taking? Because there's a lot cleverer stuff to take than Clenbuterol, and a lot more sophisticated stuff.
But can it get you away with a ban?
Yeah.
But
that's the thing is that that's what I'm saying. In Olympic athletes, if you're Chinese or if you're Mexican, you get away with Clenbuterol because the beef has Clenbuterol, and you can't expect everybody to buy that beef. The non-Clenbuterol beef. The only kind of stipulation is with someone like Canelo is he really has no excuse because he's at that level, and he's a multi-millionaire and everything else.
He actually owns his own ranch as well.
Yeah, exactly. Whereas with some of these guys that are lower level in terms of their income, but then again, with doping, there needs to be a black and white rule. But that's where the challenge lies, that there just isn't a simple, for me at least, I can't find a simple solution on how you make this work, because if we're going to start penalizing every Mexican that eats beef or has traces of beef, Clenbuterol because of beef, then you're probably affecting the guys at the top level more, because the lower level guys just don't get tested.
Yeah. Yeah, it obviously is a hard one when you're talking about it, but I mean, if somebody is gaining an advantage, it's fucking, it's a hard one. It is really hard. I don't know if you're talking about guys that are world ranked, then maybe they need to be told, you can't have your camp in Mexico, or they test test them there and then if they've not got Clenbuterol in the system for the first test, then tell them from that point on their meat has to be imported stuff, or just something like that. There has to be a way to regulate this. You can't just have guys suspected of cheating, because maybe the guys didn't cheat, but they're going to be classed as cheats. Do you know
exactly.
what I mean? Maybe they didn't, maybe they're telling the truth. But I mean, you can't. That's what's both ways. That there has to be a standard set. There has to be a line in the sand, and go, listen, this is what we'll do to give you the benefit of the doubt. But as soon as you pass clear, we're going to want you to be getting your stuff from abroad, and then it's up to you to control what you're putting in your body. Now, I say that it do that with world rank guys, because you would imagine they might have the sponsorship at that point to help out with getting imported stuff in. You know what I mean?
Yeah, but when this whole thing was going on Twitter and people were outraged, I think it's Anthony Fowler that was going on about it. The first question I had is that why aren't people outraged about there being a missing B sample, or a couple of UK heavyweights getting done for nandrolone for eating uncastrated bull, right? That was the thing, 2 years ban. So it happens all around the world, but I don't really feel that. I personally, for me, there's no more moral outrage about this than there is about any UK fighter.
I heard something else the other day there, saying that Cesar Chavez Jr.
What would they call him? Weed again?
Pretty much failed another drug test, or no failed a drug test. He hasn't met VADA standards or fucking something shit like that. I've not actually seen a lot about it. Do you know about this?
I saw that, and I think is it Kansas Athletic State Commission uh, banned him from fighting there for that reason. But what I found quite interesting is Eddie Hearn was in some IFL video. He was like, "Well, we're just going to fight somewhere else then, and we'll reschedule the fight in another place."
I,
So
I didn't think that you could actually do that in the States. I thought if you were banned by one commission, they all kind of backed each other up.
no, I think that's why Jarrell Miller could have fought anywhere but New York.
All right, I thought that I thought it was kind of like a gentleman's agreement between all the commissions that like when Canelo was banned with Nevada, it would the other commissions when they gave him a license is kind of like a gentleman's thing. I didn't know that you could actually just like, use it as if it's in a different country. I didn't realise it was that fragmented in the States.
Yeah, I think that's how it is. At least in my understanding, is it's pretty fragmented and they don't really communicate with each other. But perhaps it's more that promoters don't put guys on in other states just because you don't want to fall out of favor with another state, if that makes sense.
I know that Chavez Jr. has failed drug tests before.
Yes.
Could we see? I mean, I doubt that he'll even be ranked because he doesn't fight that much. But you know the way the boxing commissions are. Not the commission, sorry, the governing bodies are. He might be ranked with somebody. Surely, God, if he's no kept up with a drug criteria, then he should be facing a ban for them.
Yeah,
but he's Chavez Jr.
He's Chavez Jr. He's one of those fighters that I don't think anybody really cares, if that makes sense.
But that guy does fucking crazy numbers. He does big numbers, that motherfucker. I think that's why Eddie Hearn wants him.
But I think all the Mexican fans hate him because effectively against Canelo, he more or less equipped by just taking a beating in the ring.
Yeah, absolutely. But we've been on quite. That's an hour and a half we've did already. Riku, I've actually really enjoyed it tonight, but we probably should call it a day there because it's getting quite late.
Yeah, there's no other fight to be talking about this weekend. Nothing else is happening in boxing, so there's no point in continuing this.
Yeah, and I think about next week we can move on to the Ortiz and Wilder stuff, and we've also got Cash Farouk. We can preview Cash Farouk and Lee McGregor, which a fight I'm going to. I'm really looking forward to that. Fantastic fight, two great prospects, and I'm Team Farouk all the way.
Are you going to go to that?
Yeah, I've got my tickets here. Yeah.
Awesome. Yeah, it's a big night for Scottish boxing.
Yeah, brilliant night. You don't see this a lot with prospects. Two really good prospects taking each other on, and I know that one of the BBC Scotland is picking the fight up and showing it live. So I know you can get BBC Scotland on your Freeview boxes and that. So you will be able to watch it.
Is it MTK and who else are behind it?
Yeah, I think it's MTK's show. It's I've not even.
Are they both MTK guys?
Yeah, I'm not sure if Lee McGregor's still fighting with Cyclone.
Yeah.
I'm not sure.
Well, anyways, I think it's massive credit to MTK, and if it's still Cyclone, although we don't like Barry McGuigan, but still, massive credit for actually putting these guys in early against each other because both of them will learn so much and there'll be no losers out of this fight.
Yeah, that's it, man. And they play it sold out quick. I ended up Tommy Philippin. Ended up having to get in touch with Tommy Philippin, who's fighting in the undercard, and Tommy only had 4 tickets left. And he says he couldn't believe how quick that they've sold. So I get Tommy's last 4 tickets. So he was my best mate for the day for that because my friends wouldn't have been too happy because I was supposed to buy the tickets weeks and weeks ago.
Yeah. Well, it's just one of those things, isn't it? But boxing isn't rocket science. If there's a good, interesting fight, people will turn up.
Yeah.
It's not that much more complicated, is it?
Yeah, exactly, mate. But, Riku, that's been fantastic tonight, mate. I've really enjoyed myself. So thanks very much for coming on.
Likewise. All right. Speak to everybody soon.
Right, see you later on, mate. Right, bye.
Bye.
Bye. Bye.